ICAN Software Solution is excited to announce our latest product, AcuConversations for Acumatica ERP. It's always been the dream of business software applications to capture every conversation that occurs with our customers and vendors. However, until now, it always required people to manually document phone calls, and too often they just don't remember to do so. Today, many conversations with contacts, leads, customers, and vendors take place in remote meetings or phone calls. So now AcuConversations records activities within Acumatica for Teams and Zoom meetings that include transcripts and also recordings too, if you'd like. You can set up an automation schedule to automatically process and create these records every night. Additionally, if you move to Zoom Phone as your voice over IP system, as we have at ICAN Software Solutions, AcuConversations will bring in phone calls and voicemails as well. Let's take a look at the setup. So after you've installed, imported, and published our customization, you'll see a navigation area called AcuConversations. And under Configuration and License and Preferences, you'll see how you can set up multiple activities for the different types of objects that we're going to bring transcripts and recordings into Acumatica. So you can set up your own activity types and define whenever there's a phone activity or a voicemail or a Zoom meeting or a Teams meeting activity, what the activity type will be for those particular entities. Additionally, you can decide whether you want to download the recordings or just use the transcripts that are going to be downloaded. We've recently added the ability to track time on these activities. So if you want to have these activities be created as tracking time and define a default earning type and designate whether or not they'll be billable or not by default, this is where you would set those up. And then you would provide your Zoom credentials or your Teams credentials, or both. Let's take a look at the phone call conversations that might occur within your organization. Now, you may find that you want to be able to dial out with your Zoom phone system. You'll notice on the right, I've got my Zoom phone, my soft phone for dialing and receiving phone calls here on the right. If we take a look at a customer record, and we go into our contacts, you'll notice on the main account, there's some dial buttons here. I'm going to go to a specific contact, and the dial buttons that we've added here, you can see that we can dial this particular customer straight from this meeting. Now, it's trying to dial out using this. So you're going to lose my voice for a second. And after that phone call is finished, my audio can be shifted back to the recording here so you can continue to hear my voice. All right, so we've shown how we have the ability to have outgoing calls. You can generate those calls with the voice over IP system directly from Acumatica. What you might also have a scenario is where you would want to have an incoming call pop up some information in Acumatica if it recognizes that particular number. So when we have an incoming phone call, you'll notice that over on the right, Zoom phone is popping up the message and asking me to answer, but it's also letting me know in Acumatica the contact that's calling me. And if I choose to, I can open that contact here as well, and I can see the information that's coming into here. I'm going to go ahead and hang up the call, and we are going to get back to the demo here. All right, so we've shown how you can initiate outgoing phone calls with the Zoom phone telephony system. You can also have incoming calls pop up and allow you to open information about the incoming call. So as you're discussing with that customer, you'd be able to look and see if there were any activities here that had been in the system. I'm going to delete this one just so we can show you the import process later in a second. Now let's take a look at how we can download and process phone call transcripts and maybe even recordings, depending on our settings. And then after I show you kind of the manual process, then we'll show you the automated process as well. All right, so first thing we're going to do is we're going to go to our AcuConversations and we're going to say retrieve phone call transcripts. So when we come in here, and I'm going to cheat because I know the date range that I have some information in here in our testing. So I'm just going to run it for the month of August. And when I press this download transcripts button, it's going to go out and it's going to grab the phone call records within that time frame. Now we're going to show you on our other screen that does kind of two processes all in one on a scheduler, so that you're not doing two. But the two-step process is really designed for a manual operation that you would download first, and then you would choose which particular meetings you want to bring in, whether it's all or we're going to process one. I'm going to take a quick look over here. So yeah, here's our contact test guy's phone number. And this is an inbound call. So we can see that this is an external call coming in. So I'm going to mark that and say process. And then we're going to go back to that contact. And we're going to take a look here and we're going to see that there's this phone call with contact. And you'll notice that we've put the transcript into the body of the activity. So if we drill down on the activity, you'll see that there's the text. And you can also see the full transcript and the recording file here as well. So because we had it set on our preferences to bring down recordings, we've got the audio recording as well in case for some reason the transcript doesn't get transcribed correctly. But you'll notice it's pretty good. I don't see any errors in the transcription there. As you know, with any voice over IP system, there are going to be voicemails as well. So let's take a look at our next step. We want to bring in those voicemail conversations as well. So with the voicemails, I've got some data in September. And we'll go ahead and download voicemails here. Similar type of screen. We've got the download the voicemails, and we have in our system the ability to identify the users will have a defined Zoom phone extension or phone number. So if we were looking at a user, so as you can see on the user screen here, we've got a Zoom phone number that we can associate with each user within your system when you utilize the Zoom phone telephony solution, the voice over IP for Zoom. All right, so let's go back and look at retrieving our voicemails. Now, we also have the ability to tie those to a phone number or to just have it be like, say, a receptionist number. We wouldn't necessarily be associating that main receptionist voicemail or the sales voicemail to a particular user. But we might still want them to come in. So let's go ahead and click process on this one. And then we'll go look at our activities. So let's refresh our activity screen. You can see the phone call earlier that we brought in for test guy. It's related to test guy, but this particular voicemail is just to the main receptionist or the sales departmental voicemail. But we still want to track these and have the workflow for assignment of ownership perhaps utilized with Acumatica's existing functionality to auto assign it to a particular owner. And then they can go through and identify who this needs to be the owner of this particular activity. But we're still keeping track of every single voicemail as a particular activity within AcuConversations, all within Acumatica, and then can all be automated by Acumatica and how we deal with those records. All right, so we've talked about the phone calls and the voicemails if you're using a Zoom telephony system. Something that most people are using is some type of meeting, whether it's a Teams meeting or a Zoom meeting. So we're going to walk through the Zoom meeting first. So on the Zoom meetings, we are going to look at the current month date range and do a download. And you'll notice that there's all these meetings here that have been happening. I'm going to pick one that has 2 hours of time, and we're going to go ahead and process this particular one. And then we'll take a look at the activity that it generates. If I go back to my activities, now I see my Zoom meeting activity. And on this one, because we use Zoom to track our billing time, if it matches up with a customer, then we can go ahead and process this as a project cost. So we can determine if, we don't use project cost here. So we've got just a project X as the default. But then whoever's responsible for billing would come through and they'd identify based on the transcript. They'd be able to look and see what this meeting was about and bill it to the correct project based on that information. So you can see the transcript of the Zoom meeting is there, and we have the costs, and we can then determine if it's billable or not, whether it's internal. Again, this is stuff that we're just defaulting this in, and then you can do stuff with that activity going forward. Now, same type of thing is true for Teams meetings. So if we look at Teams meetings and we look at a date range for the Teams meetings, which I think was in September. So let's go look at that. So now you can see that on the Teams meetings, we are able to bring this in. And if we go back to our activities, you'll see that there's now a Teams meeting. Now, this is going to identify on the Teams, it'll be the owner of the Teams meeting. Whoever registered the Teams meeting would be the owner. You'll notice that we have both the recording and the transcript on the Teams meeting here. And if we're looking at that particular Teams meeting transcript, then we can see what's going on in that particular Teams meeting. All right, now we've talked about the manual process on here. We also have a all-in-one scheduler that allows you to schedule these things. So really, For each Zoom phone number you have, there would be a record here. So for every phone extension that's in the Zoom system, then we could set up and schedule this to run. It will bring in everything that is out there that hasn't already been imported, and it will process it all in one without having to do a two-step like we did on the areas over here. Same thing for the voicemails. The Zoom account is the entire Zoom account. So you don't have to do anything on this, just set the scheduler up and all of the system voicemails will come in. On the Zoom meetings, similar type of thing. There'll be, for the account, the Zoom users, each of these will be brought in. And then for the entire Teams account, all of the meetings for your company's Teams meetings will be processed in here. So really, you just have a process all and a scheduler on each of these, and they will bring in everything without any kind of filter. Some of these are limited to 30 days in terms of the time frame. So we do recommend it would be a nightly scheduled operation that would just take the current date, anything new on that day and bring it in. All right, well, that's our product. We actually have an outgoing calls inquiry we just created. We thought we'd throw it in there. If you have interest on this product or would like to get a trial license or a demo, just reach out to us. We're very familiar with helping implement the Zoom phone. So if you decide, hey, I've been thinking about a new voice over IP system, I would strongly recommend the Zoom phone telephony solution that Zoom has. We've been using it for a number of years, and we love the API. We love the fact that we can provide a product like this for Acumatica that makes sure no more conversations are argued about in terms of what was said. This is something that provides you the ability to keep track of everything that you say to your customers, your vendors, your prospects, your leads. Anytime that there's communications happening with another organization, and you need to be able to know what was said and have evidence to be able to use these activities to be able to automate your processes. This is AcuConversations for Acumatica.